Motel Season 4, Episode 9, Forever. Now, this was definitely a really crazy episode leading up to the season finale, which I'm going to watch right after I finish this because it actually premiered tonight, so I'm going to upload this as I'm watching the actual finale. But it was surprising, and for anyone who may have already seen the finale and other episodes, for my last review, I'd read an article when I was looking up like some pictures and stuff, and it was like, did they really just kill blank? And so of course I didn't want to say that because for anyone who's actually watching my reviews in order before they'd seen the episodes or the next one, I didn't want to mention exactly what I'd seen. And I thought for sure, because it didn't say who it was, but I think it showed a picture of Romero. It showed like a picture. I was like, it doesn't mean it's Romero. But everything that was happening, I was like, it's going to be Romero. It has to be Romero. And I was so wrong. I thought, everything was coming up exactly like I knew it was going to. It's like, of course, the DEA gets the woman whose name I still haven't even remotely bothered to remember. But they have her. She's like, I can get you guys, I can get you Alex Romero because he's Bob Parrish's murderer. I love that scene, by the way, when she went to talk to him and he's just like, okay, they're talking and stuff, and she's just randomly bringing up conversation about the first time they met and Bob Parrish and random questions never even remotely bothered to ask. And I love the way that he played it because I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna know what's happening, and that's what I was thinking. Because through the whole scene, I was just thinking like, what if I was in that sort of situation? Would I pick up on the fact that she might be wearing a wire? And of course, with his training, it makes even more sense. And of course, he knows the DEA stuff. But it was really cool. It's just like he's looking at her stuff, and it's like when she mentions Bob was in the drug trade, he's like, "Oh, Bob Parrish was in the drug trade. I didn't know that." And she kind of skipped over it because I guess she didn't want to go back and forth. It was just like, just keep going with whatever her idea was. And it was just like, okay, I'm just, where's the wire? Like, clearly, I'm not an idiot. I know what's happening. So I love that scene. And he just ups him, he walks out. They got nothing on him. It's not like they can charge him if they don't have proof. And like I said, I knew that could come back because she's technically right, but she just doesn't have any proof. And, they did exactly what I was expecting. And I don't hate that I guessed what happened. I still really enjoyed that scene. I actually loved it a lot. It was really funny. Just watching her try to get him to spill his guts, and as soon as he was like, "Oh, Bob Parrish is in the drug trade," I didn't know that. I was like, well, clearly he knows that she's wearing a wire. So I certainly love that scene, and we have Romero trying to do everything he can for Norma, trying to protect her from Norman, and he goes to Dylan, who finds even more information, and I just don't know what to expect from this finale because he found the earring. He has the confrontation with Norma again about like how Norman isn't safe, and he even tells Norma like, you have to check yourself in. She's not gonna do it for you. And it was just everything like in her face, like, hey, this is bad. And of course, she has the argument with Romero, and they have Norman find the bag in the attic, which is very cool. I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, that's where he hid the stuff. It makes sense because no one goes in the attic really, and we saw what the attic looked like with the Christmas lights. It's super junky, like a very typical attic. You just put stuff there, throw something over it so it can't get as dusty, and then that's pretty much it. And so he finds the bag, he finds the blood, he finds the very dirty robe and everything. So it's just like, wow, he found it. First idea too was just he put it right on, and I'm assuming in that scene, I couldn't tell honestly. I was like, I don't know if he remembers what he did or if it's him as Norma maybe looking at him. I couldn't tell, but it looked like he was tearing up. So my guess was that he remembered what he actually did and that it wasn't his mom or anything. But at the same time, especially with that ending, I'm curious if he thinks it was his mom again, because that kept coming up and that was the big thing. And of course it finally came out this season when he was in therapy, and maybe he had an episode like that again where it's like I don't know, he was seeing her or something like that. Normally when he's wearing the robe, he doesn't even see himself. It's just he sees his mother and that's it. So it's a little hard to guess, but he was bearing it, so I don't know if that was him as Norman or if that was him as Norma. Like, it's so hard to tell, honestly. But he did, he turned on that furnace at the end and he was locking it and he, went to sleep with her. So my guess is that he felt it was her and that maybe he was the only one that could stop her because no one, because he'd already admitted it before during one of his sessions and they found nothing. So maybe it was like, I'm the only one that can stop her, but I can't live without her maybe. So I'm going to do it peacefully so that we both go and that's it. But I don't know. I mean, it was just really crazy. I couldn't believe that it happened. I was so surprised at that ending. And, with this finale, I just don't know what to expect. I couldn't believe it happened. I mean, when, like, the whole thing going through, I seriously thought it was going to be Romero. I was like, okay, so the gas is going up and stuff like that. I was like, all right, well, they aren't going to blow up the house. That was obvious because they'd be killing both of them. So it's not going to be like an explosion that kills them both and blows up the house. Maybe something really random happens. I don't know. I was trying to figure out, like, maybe, because, all this stuff is happening with the DEA and everything with Romero, and they have all this stuff, but then they can't charge him because he ends up dying or something. Maybe Norman, would wake up or something and attack him, and they fall down the stairs. Something crazy. I was just trying to figure out anything. Like, maybe he triggers an explosion because, the gas is all going up in the air, but eventually it would, kind of reach down. Maybe something would happen. I was honestly thinking for a split second, like, what if you just put the key in and it just blew up? Because technically when you put a key in a door, it can cause a spark. And if there's gas, it can blow up a house. So there's a random bit of knowledge. If there's a bunch of gas, just putting a key somewhere and turning it, that can be enough of a spark if there's enough gas kind of leaking through. But once he got in, you could tell he couldn't smell anything until he got higher, because of course the gas is going straight to the second floor. So I was just very surprised by that. It really sucks that Norma's gone. I mean, we technically don't know. She could have survived. I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I would assume that she died, but that's kind of the big question. It's like, is she really gone or is she not? And it's such a hard guess. It's like, I mean, considering the way they did it, with Norman having, gotten up by himself, I feel like that kind of solidifies the fact that she'd be gone, because, I don't know, maybe it's because she was just in a normal sleeping pattern before he was. I don't know if that would affect it, I don't know. The issues of breathing in toxic gas and stuff like that for a long time. I don't know exactly how that would play out, but crazy ending. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm assuming Dylan's going to say something like, Emma found this earring. She didn't know it was her mom's, but it was. And then maybe they'll check out the house and they'll see, like, oh, something was just recently, dug up or buried. And so they'd find out that something was actually buried, unless he, like, did a bunch of extra work, after he filled the hole. But I'm looking forward to the ending, or the finale for this season. But this is a really good episode. Very tense and scary ending. I would love to see the Norma survived, because I don't know where it could go in the final season. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense. But also, it depends on where they're going, because I was always saying, like, if they were doing it up to the movie, which I'm assuming they are, because that they're using the house and the actual motel and not, like, going exactly by the book, I would assume. So if they are truly going up to the movie, I don't think they'd kill her off right now, because it would be a little difficult, I think, for Norman to keep her body inside the hotel, or inside the house at least. So I'm not 100% sure how they're gonna play. They could easily do it where he digs her up by, like, in, like, the very last episode, he, like, digs up her body or something super crazy. But I don't know. It's hard to guess. Like, it's Norma and Norman as, like, the main two. It's obviously, Norman because of, the movie and the book. But it's hard to guess. I mean, it's the way they made it seem. But they could switch around where she's, survives. I mean, we kind of have medical technology that can help people. But I just don't know. I mean, based on the way it happened, with, especially, like I said, with Norman waking up on his own, I personally don't believe that she did. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And odds are you guys have seen the finale by now, because it's the finale. So you're probably going to be caught up, even though I'm not. But I would love to know whether or not you think Norma is actually dead and there's going to be just Norman Bates, in the final season of the series. I would love to know your guesses. It's really hard to say, but I feel like the writers could do it. I think they could make it work if they actually killed Norma for the finale. And, I know the last episode for the season is named Norman. That could have multiple meanings where it's like, it's just Norman now, because maybe Dylan is still going to leave with Emma, and Romero doesn't really like him that much anyway, so he'd take off, and of course, oh, all these chutes are closed, and this furnace was on, and it has caution tape around it, stuff like that. It's going to be some evidence there, and that's another layer to how things could play out, but I don't know. It's really hard to guess. I mean, I think they could pull it off if they killed her. I don't want her to be dead because I like Norma in the show. I also like the actress. Um, but I don't know. It's really hard to tell. It's like either way, whether she's dead or even if she was alive, like I said, just everything in the house, the chutes being closed and the furnace being on, what she knows about the furnace and how she was there when the girl was like, oh, don't turn it on and stuff. There's just a lot of components to it, whether she's alive or not. But I think because of that evidence, she might actually be dead. And that way it can't truly get back on Norman and he could just say, oh, maybe she closed it for this reason or that reason or something. Who knows? It's so hard to tell, but I would love to know your predictions, whether or not you guys think she lived or died. And of course, I would love to know what you think is going to happen in um, this crazy finale. I mean, it should be exciting. I'm definitely excited to get to it. So, definitely want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Norma. And of course, what you thought about this episode in general. So, please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.